Welcome everyone for this webinar. The title is How to Gain a Positively Unfair Advantage in Your Career and in Life. And we're going to explore simple ideas that can have a very powerful effect in how you apply them in your life and have a positive effect in terms of your career, but also your life in general. So I'm going to start with a quote, and I like quotes because usually they make us think about a lot more and create different perspective. And so I'm going to start this quote with Henry David Thoreau, which says that not until we are lost do we begin to understand ourselves. And the reason I chose this quote is because very often we have to come into a roadblock in order to start to do something different, to make some changes. And as a result of making those changes, we are going to start to uncover different aspects of ourselves, have a different perspective on who we are, maybe perhaps a different perspective on our world. But generally, we need some kind of roadblock, some need a kind of pain, some kind of challenge in order to be able to push out of the traditional way we do things or out of the comfort zone. And so that's why not until we are lost, we do begin to understand ourselves. That is the first step. The challenge is the opportunity for a new breakthrough. Now, for the people that had registered to this webinar, there's mainly three things that you want if you registered for this masterclass. Those include, first, to be in the driver's seat and in control of your career and your life. And most importantly is without wasting any time or energy or missing out on opportunities. Second thing you're looking for is that you want to home in on what is truly aligned with you and your heart's calling. Most people are looking for ways in order to be able to maximize their potential, being successful, but also achieve more fulfillment. And so really understanding who you are and being able to identify a path, whether it's a personal path, whether it's a career path, that is truly aligned with who you are and your heart calling is really important in order to maximize your experience in this physical life. And the third thing is having a clear plan of action on what to do to move forward with your career and your life so you can enjoy greater success, fulfillment every day. And having a plan of action is not always easy. Very often when we encounter roadblocks, we get stuck into the roadblocks. And so the ability to develop a different perspective in order to create a plan of actions becomes really important. And so these are the three things that you're probably looking for at the moment, or getting a bit more clarity on those three aspects. And that's why you joined the webinar. Now, there's also some things you're struggling with if you register for this masterclass, is because there is somehow some aspect in your life that you are questioning, or you're not quite sure about it, or you're struggling with. And so what I'd like you to do is, if you look at the worksheet, there is at the beginning of the worksheet, there's a little space to answer what would be the three things that you're currently struggling with right now. And this is really important I want this masterclass to be interactive, because the more you're going to put some effort in, the more you're going to be invested in the process and being proactive, the more you're going to get out of this class. And so just take a few seconds to reflect on what would be the three biggest challenges that you're currently struggling with right now. And once you identify those three challenges, the next question is, if nothing changes, where will you be in 12 months' time? As I said at the beginning, very often we need to encounter a challenge in order to grow, in order to change our perspective, to change the actions, to change the way we look at life. And so that becomes really, really important. And so think about, if nothing changed in respect to your current challenges, where will you be in 12 months' time? And so that's the first little exercise to help you get the most out of this masterclass. So again, use your worksheet, and you're going to follow the worksheet along the masterclass because there's some exercise for you to do. There's some things for you to fill in order to retain the information. The more you are proactive and the more you interact with me during the masterclass, the more you're going to be able to retain the information and then apply it. So if you're here also in this masterclass, if you join the masterclass, it's probably also because at some stage you might feel a bit of overwhelm, or you might have a bit of anxiety and stress, and mostly to what has been happening in the past 18 months with the COVID situation. The global pandemic and the coronavirus has basically triggered a huge amount of uncertainty in our life. Things are changing very fast, and it's very difficult to predict what's going to happen in the next 1 year or two, or even in the next 6 months, because things can change from moment to moment or from day to day. And though this is very well easy and understandable that people are feeling more overwhelmed, more anxious, and more stressed, also because there's a lot of more conflicting information happening. The second thing is because if you join this webinar, is probably because you're not really clear on your direction, or maybe you're lacking a step-by-step strategy to move forward in order to own your future. And this is related to the first point I just made, which is the increased uncertainty in the world is basically a challenge to be able to create a clear direction for us and having a step-by-step strategy. And so these two issues are related. And finally, the third one is you might be feeling frustrated and lost trying to figure this out all on your own because you can't seem to see clearly what's next. And just trying to figure out everything on your own sometimes can be very draining, can drain your energy, can feel frustrated, and you're not making any progress. And some of the reason why you may not make any progress is because you're trapped into your own thinking and you're lacking some perspective, some external perspective. And so what I'm going to do today is I'm going to share with you some simple keys to help you with all of the above, to help you move closer to what you desire, and also to help you move and overcome the different obstacles that you may be facing at the moment. My mission in life is to educate and empower professionals, entrepreneurs, and business owners, and really is to help them unlock their unique potential, to find fulfillment within a vocation that is designed around their unique genius, their unique skills, their unique talent, and their purpose in life. And so that's what all my work is focused on, all the different things I do, the coaching I do, the consulting I do, but also all the information I'd love to share with people is really to help them really clarify and identify what makes them unique and how to build something around them that is going to lead to a vocational career. And so what we're going to cover today, we're going to cover 3 important keys in order to create an unfair advantage in your career and in life. And so the first key is about self-awareness. And this is really the most important key, the most important aspect of creating that unfair advantage. Because self-awareness is really your most precious asset. Because once you understand better who you are, no one can take it away from you. And so self-awareness is really the foundation to grow, to change, and to really influence your future and own your future. And so we're going to spend quite a bit of time around self-awareness. Second aspect that is really crucial and more important these days because of the uncertainty happening in the world is really the ability to master your emotion. And unfortunately, this is not something that is really taught in school or universities, but this has become more and more an important skill to develop, given that we live in a very fast-paced society, but also with all the uncertainty with the pandemic, things change from day to day. That can be really overwhelming, stressful, and therefore developing a certain ability to master our emotion is becoming one of the most valuable skills we need to in order to own our future and navigate this fast changing, uncertain world. And finally, we need clarity and proven authentic strategies. Otherwise, nothing will change. Now, I insist in the term authentic strategies. It's not about trying to borrow strategies from other people that we like, but because we are all unique and individual, it's really important to get really clear on what is the strategy that matches who we are. What is the most effective and authentic strategies that we can develop in order to grow and succeed and get more fulfillment and making more impact in life. So authenticity becomes really important. And that aspect is directly connected with the previous one that I talked about, which is the self-awareness. The more we're going to identify our authentic strategies, the more also we are going to develop resilience and master our emotion. So all three aspects are deeply interlinked together. So my intention today with this webinar is threefold. First is to help you cut some of the noise that may be in your head. Maybe at the moment you have too many ideas or perhaps conflicting ideas. And going through the different points I'm going to explain today, one of my goals is to help you reduce some of the noise. The second one is to give you 3 simple keys to regain control of your life by better understanding yourself. And as you better understand yourself, you're going to also better understand what you can do about it right here, right now. And the third point is to help you by showing you a blueprint to create your future by choice, not by default. That is really the key, by choice. The more you understand yourself, the more you are able to make the right choice for you, not any kind of choice. And so that is my intention for today. Also, if you stick with me until the end of the webinar, I have a gift for you because I want to reward you for taking the time to invest in yourself and also assist you in order to make the next step and move forward in your personal life and in your career. And so stick around till the end, and then you'll get access to that free gift. This gift is going to help you in 3 different ways. First, I'm going to help you identify your highest priority right now. I'm going to show you what you can do right now in order to start moving forward, to help you prioritize the activities that you need to focus on, the actions you need to take. And I'm going to lay out a path forward for yourself, something that is really specific for you, not just something that is cookie cutter or out of the shelf. It's really about tailoring an approach and looking at your personal situation and give you some tips and pointers in order for you to move forward. Now, in case you haven't heard me before or you don't know me that well, I'm going to give you a little bit of background about myself, my journey, and also why I'm qualified to be here to talk about, creating an unfair advantage for your career and your life. And so my name is Olivier. I'm Dr. Olivier Becherel, and I call myself a human potential activator. And this comes from the point and the view that I'm here to help people discover more about who they are and help them unlock their unique potential. And I'm also a life and business strategist because I help people integrate their life priorities, their personal priorities, but also their work or their business priorities. Because I believe that the integration of the personal side of life and the professional side of life is crucial in order to avoid any internal conflict or friction. And so that's basically what I do every day with my client. I help them integrate personal and professional priorities in order for them to help them unlock their unique potential and create their unique legacy and have a more successful, impactful, and fulfilling life. Now, you probably figured out that I have a little accent, and so I was born in France. And yes, as a good Frenchman, I love croissant. And I was born in Normandy, and for those that know a little bit about France, you will have recognized Mont Saint-Michel, which is one of the highlights of Normandy. It is also one of the points of contention between Normandy and Brittany to know which this one belongs to. Is it belonging to Brittany or Normandy? But because I'm a Frenchman and I'm from Normandy, I'm going to say it belongs to Normandy. Now, from very early on in life, I've been fascinated with life. And when I talk about life, I talk about biological life and living organisms. So much so that when I was 8 years old, my parents bought me a microscope. So I can go in the backyard, collect dirt sample, collect bugs, collect insect, put it under the microscope and have a look at it. This is something that really started very early on, my fascination with the things that move and trying to understand why is this, why does he move this way, and how does he function. And that really started my passion or my mission in a way around understanding life and living organisms, which led me to study biology in high school. And then the same thing in terms of when I went to university, I studied also biology. I moved from more into the micro level and studying genetics, cell biology, biochemistry. And so until I did all my studies in Normandy, and then after my undergraduate studies, I went to do a PhD. And to do my PhD, I moved to Strasbourg, which is on the other side of the country, on the west side, at the border between France and Germany. And there I did a PhD. And the topic of my PhD was to study the impact and the interaction between the external environment and bacteria, and how external influence can affect the genetic material of bacteria. So basically what I was doing is I was studying the stress response and how bacteria react to the environment and protect their genomic material and their DNA. It's also in Strasbourg that I met my wife, Marcia, which is here also on the call. And Marcia is also a scientist, and she's also a medical doctor. And we had this common interest in live biological organisms. And so I've done medical research in France, in Strasbourg. And then after I finished my PhD, one of the things that was quite important, generally when you do medical research, is to look for a postdoc. And so I decided to do my postdoc, and I chose the country. I chose Australia. And so in 2002, Marcia and I moved to Australia, and we moved to Brisbane in order to continue our next adventure. And in Brisbane, I went into the field of medical research. I worked primarily around cancer research and neuroscience, looking at the mechanisms of disease in neurological disorder and trying to understand neurodegeneration. So I work with neurons, I work with nerve cells, I work with stem cell research to derive new model to study neurodegeneration. And I've done that for about 20 years. Now, something important happened in 2007. There was a turning point for me in 2007 because until 2007, most of my focus was around the physical aspect of life, the scientific, rational aspect of life. But in 2007, Marcia bought a book for me from the Dalai Lama, which is called The Universe in a Single Atom, How Science and Spirituality Can Serve Our World. Now, I must say, before this book, I never really read anything about spirituality, anything about, esoteric things or metaphysical. This was really the first book. But somehow I got drawn to that book because of the title, The Universe in a Single Atom. That sounded quite scientific. And I was interested in the integration between science and spirituality and see what I can learn from it. And so once I started to dig into that book, I was surprised that I read the book in a weekend. I finished it cover to cover in a weekend. And that was really a major turning point for me in order to expand my awareness into the different aspects of life. Up to that point, the major focus of my life was around the physical aspect, the mechanical aspect. But since I read that book, it opened a whole new world for me in terms of the mind, the metaphysical, and the spiritual aspect. And so reading that book really made a turning point in my life. And that is when I started my personal development journey. And I realized that one of my mission actually is to really integrate science and spirituality. Up to that point, I had a very strong focus on the science, the mechanical aspect of life. And from 2007, I've opened up my world into more the spiritual aspect and the more ethereal aspect of life. And I see my journey on this planet as a way to integrate both science and spirituality in order to help people maximize their unique potential. So that led us to, in 2009, Marcia and I published our first book. So up to that point, most of the things I published are textbook or journal articles in the scientific publications. But this one, Farewell to Anxiety, was our first book together, but also something that is very left field for scientists. And so from 2009, we also starting to dive deeper into the world of personal development, and we studied NLP, hypnosis. We both become master practitioner of NLP. We also are trainer of NLP. We learn hypnosis, we learn coaching. And that's really pushed us to relaunch our company, which is called Mastery to Success, and start to do coaching, because we realized that this is really who we are about. We are about integrating science and spirituality. And just staying in the field of pure science, the academic traditional science, was not enough. It was too limiting. And so that's when we started Mastery to Success, our coaching business. Another very important turning point in 2009 is that we met one of our mentors, Dr. John DeMartini, which introduced us to the universal laws. But not only just the universal laws, the application of the universal laws to human potential and human behavior. And that is really what has been one of the key foundations of our work, the use of the universal laws in helping people maximize their potential. And so gradually, while I was doing my personal development, I become more and more disconnected with the classical mainstream academic, the classical, science and medical research. And I came to a point where I had to make a choice. Do I continue to stay in my medical research career and not really feeling motivated, not feeling really connected or engaged with that, but because it's easy, I can do it and it pays the bill? Or do I take a leap of faith, quit my job, and go and explore more what I can do in terms of integrating science and spirituality? And so what I did is I made a call and I decided to quit academia and medical research, let go of my career, my prestige, my research, my friends, and I started my entrepreneurial journey. Now, I've never been an entrepreneur. There's no entrepreneur in my family, so that was something that really I was going into the unknown. But I felt really drawn towards that because this is what's really aligned with me. I'm not a classical scientist, I'm not a mainstream scientist, but I had to be able to find out the other world, the more ethereal and spiritual and mind world, to discover that this is really who I am. I'm more like an integrator of both sides, the physical aspect, the scientific aspect, and the spiritual aspect of life. And so I quit my job, started our entrepreneurial journey, and that's what we've been doing since. And so we've been quite fortunate that in the past 11 years, we've been able to work and coach people from around the world, from different stages of their lives, different careers, different industry. And we help people really help them understand better who they are, get that deep self-awareness about who they are. We help them master their emotion and identify what is their authentic strategy so they're able to unlock their unique potential. And so being able to work from people around the world gives you a very broad perspective on what human potential is. But it also allows you to identify what are the key characteristics about human potential. What are the universal principles about human potential? And so I would say that today I live and breathe human potential and personal transformation. That's my day to day. That's the only thing I do, coaching people and help them get a greater clarity and understanding about who they are. And so what I can say is from our journey so far, Marcia and I, we found our unique ways to combine our scientific grounded approach, both in the health and life science and medicine and medical research. And we've been able to integrate that with our research and experience around human behavior and the power of the mind to develop something we call the science of personal leadership. Because ultimately, it's all about developing personal leadership. If you want to create an unfair advantage in your career or in your life, you have to get a greater level of understanding of who you are and develop your personal leadership. And that's what has been our focus for the past 15 years. Since then, so there is much less stress in my life. It's a different type of stress. There's more enthusiasm and energy. I feel more productive and effective, but most importantly, I feel a greater sense of contribution and fulfillment because I see directly the effect of the work I do with my clients and how that transforms their lives. And every day I focus on what I do best, and we focus on what we were born to do, and we are living our legacy. So if I can change from being a mainstream scientist into becoming a coach or a human potential activator, if we can do it, so can you. And so I'm going to, now that I share a little bit about my story and you understand where I come from and what has laid the foundation. So I really recommend you take plenty of notes in what we're going to dive deeper. Make sure you have your worksheet handy because there are going to be some exercise for you to get the most out of this presentation. And let's dive in. So on my journey also, and working with people from around the world and having observed what happened in the past 20 months, roughly, as a scientist, one of the characteristics is to observe what's happening around, to identify patterns and trends, to be able to make sense of the world and situation. And one of the things I realized working with all these people from different places, there's three major problems that they are confronted with. The first problem is that I notice is that there is a hyper connection with the outside world. And this is really with the birthing of social media. Since social media, Facebook, people have becoming hyper connected with the outside world. They have huge amount of friends, whatever friends means to them. But this problem is that this hyper connection to the outside world, the hyper connection to other people's authority, other people's opinion, has made them really disconnected with who they are. So although they feel a lot more integrated and connected with people, they are highly disconnected with themselves. And so they're not taking the time to inquire about who they really are and get some clarity about their identity. It would be, a joke could be that it's easier to ask Google, tell me who I am, than trying to find the answer yourself. You're just going to Google it and tell me who I am. It's easier. Tell me, Facebook, who I am. But really the key is that you have to do some work in order to identify who you are, your unique identity. And this is by doing this type of work to develop your self-awareness that is going to give you an unfair advantage both in your career and in your life. So although progress and technology has allowed us to connect to a lot more things and feel a lot more connected, the drawback is that many people are highly disconnected with themselves. So that's one of the first problems. The second problem, and this is also related to the birth of social media and the hyper connection, is that because we can connect with everyone online, there's a tendency to compare ourselves with others. And that can lead to a lot of stress, anxiety, and self-doubt. So there's the bright side of social media is that you increase your circle of influence, you increase your circle of knowledge because you're able to connect with more people. But there's also a dark side to social media, which is it increases anxiety and panic attacks and depression. And there's an obsession with comparing ourselves with others. There's insecurity around self-esteem because you're constantly comparing yourself with other ideals. And now with the fake things happening, there's more and more things that you're trying to compare yourself with something that doesn't even exist, that isn't even real. And Twitter is really interesting because Twitter is all about 140 characters, but it's constant bombardment of information. And that creates for many people a fear of missing out. And so we're constantly living and plugged in into the outside world. And that is trapping our attention, our energy, but is also creating a lot of turmoil internally, such as stress, anxiety, and a lot of self-doubt because we start to define ourselves based on other people rather than really knowing who we are. And so the social media has created a lot of pressure. And if you look at some of the statistics, it's interesting to see that 60% of the people believe the pressure to look good is not unbearable because of social media, mostly because of Instagram. And so we have become so dependent on technology and the ability to connect ourselves with everyone around the globe has pushed that constant comparison with others, which ultimately undermines our self-esteem, our self-worth, creates self-doubt and our ability to believe in ourselves. And so that is the second problem I've seen and I've witnessed over the years with that growth of social media. The third problem also that I've observed is that very often we look for people that are successful and we try to borrow their strategy, hoping that their strategy is going to work for us. The problem is that they are different people. We are not the same. As I'm going to mention later, there's some specific characteristics and determinant of our individuality that are really important. And so trying to copy other people, hoping that their strategy is going to work for us, very often doesn't work and result in a lot of frustration and creating a lot of self-doubt. And so I just put that quote, which is, I just noticed it's quite interesting that it's called spirit science, right? I was talking about science and spirituality integration. But the quote really summarized that aspect of, trying to borrow other people's success stories and success strategies. Life is the most difficult exam. Many people fail because they try to copy others, not realizing that everyone has a different exam. And so life is unique and individual for each one of us. And trying to copy someone else's path is actually denying our own past, denying our own greatness and our own uniqueness. And that often leads to, issues in terms of mental health, depression, anxiety, lack of motivation, and frustration, just because that sets us for unrealistic expectation about who we were and what we're supposed to achieve. And so these are the three major problems that I find that usually have a strong impact in people's career and in life. And so my big promise today is I'm going to show you a blueprint to create a clear path forward for you individually to help you design, create, and own your future. It's all about being more self-aware, because when you start from the point of better understanding yourself, you can also identify what is the best strategy for you to move forward. And so as I said before, I'm going to help you clear some brain noise, remove some false expectations, and I'm going to help you focus and prioritize what you need to do. The things that are really important for you, not the things you think should be important because of society's expectation or because other people say it's important, but it's really identify and focus what is really important for you. I'm going to share with you a proven blueprint for real life result that we've been building for the past 15 years. And that's the blueprint we use with our clients to help them get the results that they want and move forward in life. I'm going to continue to use some quotes because I like quotes because they help us reflect. Usually they bring something very simple and concise, but they help us reflect and transcend some of the boundaries of our thinking. And so this first quote is from Earl Nightingale, which is one of the pioneers in the personal development or motivational speaker. And the quote says, "The biggest mistake you can make is to believe that you are working for someone else. The driving force of a career must come from the individual. Remember, jobs are owned by the company, but you own your career." And I think it's really important to make the difference and understand the difference between a job and a career. A job is definitely owned by the company, but you choose your career. And so by focusing on creating your career, you get back into the driver's seat of your life instead of letting yourself being defined by what the company says you are or who you should be. The second quote is from Khalil Gibran, a poet and philosopher. And this quote really summarizes what the whole philosophy of intention of this talk is about, is that knowledge of the self is the mother of all knowledge. So it is incumbent on me to know myself, to know it completely, to know its minutiae, its characteristics, its subtleties, and its very atom. And that's what I just talked about before. It's all about the self-awareness. The more you understand yourself at a deeper level, the more you open the possibilities and the opportunities for you in the present, but also in the future. And so I'm going to share with you the model we've built over the past 10 years based on our own research into personal development, but also based on 15 years of experience of coaching people and taking them through the journey to help them get greater clarity about who they are and create a path forward in life. And really, the success blueprint comes from all these trial and errors and experimenting and working with people from a range of countries and a range of industries. And we've been able to identify that there's really three key components in order to create more success, impact, income, and fulfillment in your life, regardless of who you are, regardless of your race, regardless of where you come from, regardless of your country, regardless of your industry. These are the three key determinants of your success. And the first one is about core identity. And this is really about self-awareness and a deeper understanding of yourself. And so let's explore a little bit core identity. Now, as a scientist, I've been trained to look at things or observe things from different perspectives. That's what allows me to make sense and connect the dots. And so when we look at identity, we can also look at our own identity from two different perspectives. We can look from the perspective of the big picture, or we can look at the perspective from the small behavior. But both the big picture and the small behavior makes the whole of who you are. And so let's have a look at the big picture. So what is the big picture? Well, the big picture of yourself and your life is about what is the one thing in your life. It's about being really clear on what is your purpose in life. What is the vision you're moving towards? And what is your mission? What are you here to accomplish on this planet? What is the thing that makes you unique and valuable on this planet that only you can contribute? This is really the big picture of your life, your purpose, your vision, and your mission. And this is really critical to get clear on because ultimately these big pictures is what gives you the direction in life. If you don't have a direction in life, it's very easy to get swayed and drifting in so many different ways and feel lost and confused. And so the clarity of your purpose, your vision and mission acts like as a lighthouse, as a beacon to help you stay on track and on the path to move forward. So this is really important to set the direction. The more you have clarity on that, the more you know where you're going. Because if you don't know where you're going to end up somewhere, but it might not be where you want to be. And so again, this is the importance of being really clear on the big picture of your life. Now, on the other hand, we have the small behavior. And the small behavior is really dictated by what is most important and meaningful to me right now. And that is different for every individual. And what is most important and meaningful to me right now is what we call our values, our core values or personal values. Now, there's a lot of confusion around values. A lot of people think values are honesty, integrity, or friendship, but really your core values are really unique to you. And that is what is most important and meaningful to you. And we can get an idea around your values based on your behavior. It's not some terms that you think you like it, and it's not about that. Your true values are really based on your behavior because your life demonstrates your values. And so I'm going to use a very simple analogy to explain who you are, because I like to use analogy. It makes it easier for people to understand. And so I'm going to use an analogy that you all familiar with, an iceberg. And so imagine that you are the iceberg. And so as you know, in an iceberg, there's two different sides. There's one side that is above the surface of the water, and there's a side of the iceberg that is usually underwater that we can't see. So imagine this is you. So if we look at the visible side, which is the conscious side that everyone can see, what is it constituted of? It's constituted of our decisions, actions, and result. People can see our actions and people can see our result or the lack of result. This is what we most think how we function. But there's a much deeper part of us that is under the water that very few people only get to understand on a deeper level. And that is what is really unconscious. And what is unconscious is what I call our core values and our core drivers. Our core values affect our everyday decision, actions, and behavior that we do. And in turn, they also affect our results. And even deeper than our core values, we have our core driver. This is the most unconscious, deepest part of us, our unconscious motive that drives us every day. But very often, people are not aware of those or don't have the clarity. And so it's very difficult to really be in the control or in the driver's seat of your life if you don't really understand these two parameters, your core drivers and your values, because then you're missing a whole part of the equation of who you are and how you function. And so right now, I'd like you to do a quick reality check. Now that I've introduced the idea of core drivers and value, I'd like you to do a quick reality check and answer this, rate these three statements on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being not at all, not true, and 10 being absolutely. So if you were to rate that on a 1 to 10 scale, so the statement, the first one is, I am crystal clear about my purpose in life. So if you're absolutely crystal clear and certain about your purpose in life and you can articulate it, you're going to score yourself closer to 10. However, if you're not sure, if you have no clue about your purpose and you've been trying to find your purpose for many years, but you haven't made progress, you're going to score yourself more towards 1. Second, I know my true values. Again, if you feel that you really understand your true values, and remember, your values are a reflection of your behavior. So if you really understand your true values, you score yourself around 10. If you have no clue on how you function on a daily basis and what's really most important and meaningful to you, you're going to score yourself closer to 1. And the third statement is, I know exactly what drives my everyday decisions, actions, and behavior. Again, if you know exactly what you do, why you do it, you're going to score yourself closer to 10. If you have no idea and you think life is random and you're just going with the flow and just haphazard doing things, you're going to mostly score yourself around 1. So just take a few seconds to score yourself. This is really important because very often, in order to make progress and grow from where you are to closer to where we want to be, the important is really to ask quality questions, because these are the quality questions and the reflection that is going to help us expand our awareness and our understanding of who we are. And so it's really important that you play along and answer these questions or exercise and rate yourself. It's just for yourself. You don't have to share it with anyone, but it's really purely to create a reality check to see, okay, where am I sitting right now? Where is my situation? Because if we're not able to measure where we are, it's very difficult to make any improvement. Now, I'm going to share the importance with some real case study from some clients, the importance about understanding yourself and developing that self-awareness about our values. So this is the case of a client from the UK, Michael, who is a award-winning actor and director. And Michael was stuck. He felt that he wasn't moving forward in his life because he was not really clear about his values. He was working hard, doing a lot of things, but he was not really getting the result, and he was not feeling in flow. He was not getting the result that he wanted, although he was a hard-working individual. And so we did some work together, and the first thing we did was to clarify his true values and identify that. Because as I said, that is really the foundation. Understanding your true value is the foundation to understand why you do what you do every day. And once we started to clarify Michael's values and his core drivers, now it becomes really clear for him that what he needed to do and what he needed to focus on. And so again, I'm just stressing that really the first step to make change or to improve your current situation is really to develop a greater self-awareness about who you are and how you function. Now, this is another example with Angela. Angela is an interesting example. She was working at a very successful executive position in a multi-billion-dollar company, but she was not really fulfilled. There was something missing, and she couldn't quite put the finger on. And so again, working with Angela helped her to identify and clarify her values, because she wanted to progress her career, but she really felt stuck that she wasn't getting the most, she wasn't fulfilling her full potential. And so by working with Angela and clarifying her own values, then we identified that there was another value that really wasn't met in the current job position that she could potentially start to use a bit more in a different setting. And so that led Angela, once we clarified our value, we were able to put a strategy in place, and she's starting to do a bit more research and take some action. And long story short, she left the big company and went into another company where she now can use all her different values and feel a lot more fulfilled because she's tackling inspiring challenges. So she moved from the big company that most of it will know, she moved from Facebook, and she joined another firm, which is a VC firm, and become an investor in Felix Capital in the UK. And now she has the opportunity in that new career to really use all the combination of her unique values and provide unique value to the company. The interesting thing is, when Angela applied for the job, there were 2,000 applications. She was one of the two selected by the company, although she didn't have a background in finances, which is very unusual for a VC firm to get someone that has no background in finances. But again, it was about really helping Angela clarify that so she can put a case forward. And the third example I'm going to talk is about Simon. So when I met Simon, first he was the CEO of an IT company, and he's been in that IT company for several years, but he was really frustrated because he was not moving forward. He felt that there was something, he was trapped in a rut, and he was not moving forward. He was getting frustrated and disengaged and demotivated. And again, he had lost touch with himself. He had lost his confidence in his ability to be a CEO. And so again, it's the same thing. I work with Simon to help him clarify his value, clarify his core driver, get more clear about his purpose. And from there, we were able to put some strategies in place that led him to basically change company, quit his company, and get into another company again in the same CEO role, but now in a position where he feels more fulfilled. He regained his confidence, he regained his ability to manage his team and grow the company. And so I'm just showing you the case of Simon because it happens to everyone. It doesn't matter where you are in your job position in the hierarchy, whether you're an employee, an executive, or even top of the chain as a CEO. Everybody struggles with clarity and self-awareness. But once we're able to identify those key elements, values, core drivers, purpose, mission, vision, that's when we open the door to possibilities. We are all humans. No matter where we are all struggling with some form of existential issues or challenges. And so again, this just shows you that no matter where you are, there's always an opportunity to get a better understanding of yourself so you can move forward. So if I summarize the first key, which is the core identity, it is that your values, your core drivers, and your purpose are really determining your path and your direction in life. And as I said, if you're not clear on your path, your direction, and who you are, it's very easy to get overwhelmed by all the information that exists on the outside and lose track and lose sense and connection with who you are and yourself. One of the key to really gain an unfair advantage in your career and your life is really to start with a strong foundation. And the strong foundation starts with yourself, knowing who you are on a deeper level. So you know exactly what makes you tick, how you function, and how you can best maximize your opportunity, and really look at opportunities that are truly aligned with who you are, not things you think should be good or things other people tells you are good for you. It's really about starting with that self-awareness and deeper understanding. So imagine if you were crystal clear on your values, your core drivers, and your purpose in life. Imagine you have all it figured out. What would be possible for you? What could you do? Where could you be? This is really where the opportunities open. When you get that clarity and understanding, now you can start to look into the future and plan forward, knowing that whatever you're going to do is going to be truly aligned with who you are first. So now let's move on to the second key of the success blueprint: emotional intelligence and resilience. Emotional intelligence and resilience is really another way to say mastering your emotion. And that is really key, especially these days in a fast changing world, and with all the uncertainty that's happening due to the coronavirus pandemic. This is a skill that I think, should be taught in school. Instead of stuffing kids with a lot of things and details about different work or jobs, we should teach kids how to be resilient, how to develop emotional intelligence, because this is really what is the key difference between someone that is stressed out or someone that is able to adapt to change. So I like this quote from Deborah Rosman, who is the CEO of the Heart Math Institute. And she clearly said that if you don't manage your emotions, then your emotions will manage you and you will feel losing control. There's also another interesting quote from Dr. Joe Dispenza. And this is really important: the importance of mastering your emotion. You cannot see the way out of a challenge if you are looking at it every day from the cell level of mind, emotions, thoughts, and feelings of the past. So if you're not able to master your emotion, you are not able to see further forward. You are not able to get the clarity you need in order to overcome the challenge, because you are trapped in the emotion and you run from a more primitive function of your brain, which is the limbic system, rather than operating from your prefrontal cortex, which is the rational, the thinking, and the planning part of your brain. And so you're trapped in a way in the monkey mind rather than being functioning and operating from the human mind. So it is really important to develop the abilities and the skills to master your emotion, because that has a direct influence and impact on your capacity to navigate, grow, and succeed in a volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world. And I can say since the beginning of last year, since the beginning of the coronavirus pandemic, we are definitely living in a volatile world. There's a lot of polarization, especially on social media. People get polarized, and that creates a lot of conflict, internal conflict, but also external conflict. There's a lot of uncertainty because no one really knows how to manage the situation. Even governments are struggling to find ways to manage the situation. It is definitely a very complex world, because we're getting more and more people on the planet. The technology is adding new layers of complexity, so it is definitely complex. But it's also very ambiguous, because now we have contradictory information, we have fake news, we have things that creates a lot of polarity in society. And so the pace of change is increasing, but it is also increasing the volatility, the uncertainty, the complexity, and the ambiguity in the world we live in. And so that's why developing the ability to be able to master our emotion, regulate our emotional state, is become really crucial. And it's probably one of the most important skills that we can develop moving forward to be able to continue to adapt to the changing environment. We live in a fast changing world, and so the inability to adapt to that change, which is inevitable — change is not optional, is inevitable. Adaptability is optional. But the inability to adapt to change is what really creates deep down chronic stress, both in the mind through emotion turmoil, but also in the body through physical illnesses and issues with signs and symptoms. And so it's really key to be able to master our emotion if we want to thrive, not just trying to survive in that fast going society. Another important reason why you want to master your emotion, and I'm going to quote here someone you all know, Warren Buffett, the famous billionaire investors. And Warren said that if you can't manage your emotions, don't expect to manage money. If you really clearly look at the stock market is fueled by emotion, fear, and greed. That's why there's so much volatility. I mean, A recent example would be if you monitor Bitcoin. There's so much volatility around Bitcoin that is really fueled by emotion, hypes and hopes and fears and desires. And so really our emotion have in a way one of the biggest impact on our society, in our economy, in our stock market, but also directly in our own backyard, in our way of how we manage our own money. And so, yeah, definitely COVID-19, this global pandemic has caused a lot of uncertainty. And you can just see it when you just Google COVID-19 and you look for what really is the impact of COVID-19. You know, some people call it the world's biggest psychological experiment because we discover something that no one has been prepared for. And so now we're trying to figure it out all together. There's also the lockdown with the COVID-19, and that has also been a big social experiment for people to see how can they function when they are deprived for certain freedoms that they've been taken for granted for many, many years. Freedom of movement, sometimes freedom of speech, freedom of being able to do what you want to do, when you want to do, where you want to do it. The lockdown has restricted some of those freedoms. This is the health footprint of the pandemic. So there is clearly an initial health impact, a physical impact. But as you can see, the red curve is the psychological trauma or psychological impact. And that curve is not going down, it's continued to go up. And I predict that the curve will continue to go up. The physical impact of COVID-19 and the pandemic will get more or less under control sooner or later. However, we have no idea about the long-term psychological consequence of that. That is going to take many more years in order to figure it out and really ascertain what's happening. We can see it already when you do some surveys that, you know, there's a lot of people that are already very stressed, especially in terms of their employment and their employment condition. You know, women are more stressed than men. 72% of women feel more stress as a result of the pandemic versus 61% of men, but it's still a very important number. 72%, 61% is not something that is negligible. You know, depending on your level of income, the stress also is more or less impacting your whole life. You know, people working in healthcare have suffered a lot because they have to deal with, you know, the issue of the coronavirus, the number of deaths, and all the pressure that they are on. And so definitely we're not living in easy times, which makes it even more important that we develop the skills to master our emotions. So I'd like you to do a quick reality check now on your worksheet and have a look on the scale of 1 to 10. How would you score yourself with those 3 statements? So the first statement is, I know how to effectively master my emotions. So if you get challenged, if you get under pressure, if you get, you know, your button gets pushed, but you are able to recover quickly, you would score yourself closer to 10. If someone pushes your button and it lasts for days or weeks or months or years, then you will most likely score yourself towards 1 because you don't have that capacity to master your emotion and regain your internal balance. The second statement is, I express my emotions easily rather than suppressing them. A lot of people think that suppressing emotion is actually emotional mastery. That is bullshit. It's not emotional mastery, it's just called emotional suppression. But suppression your emotion doesn't really resolve them, doesn't really integrate them. And so don't be fooled. Because you can suppress your emotion, don't think that you're really mastering your emotion. You're just suppressing your emotion until it gets too big and then it's going to explode. So again, if you're a person that has a tendency to suppress emotion rather than express, deal with them, talk about them and resolve them, you're going to score yourself towards 1. But if you're a person that is really open about your emotion and you can talk about your emotion, you can find ways to address your emotions, you're going to score yourself closer to 10. And the third statement is, I know exactly what pushes my button and what I can do to avoid reacting. Again, this has to do with the aspect of self-awareness. The more you understand what triggers you, the more you can create a situation where you're not going to get triggered. You can reorganize your environment, your situation, in a way that you don't get triggered. But also the more you understand your patterns, the more, if you get triggered, you know what to do about it instead of overacting. And so again, if you don't know your patterns, or if you know your patterns, but you don't know how to manage your emotional states, when someone pushes your button, you're going to score yourself towards 1. But if you know your pattern and you know what to do in order to avoid reacting, you're going to score yourself closer to 10 because you have a certain level of emotional mastery. So when we are functioning in an executive state, as I said before, when we are functioning from the prefrontal cortex in our brain, rather than the emotional survival state, that's where we are the most effective in achieving our goals. That's one of the reasons why emotional mastery is so important. It's not good enough to know where we want to go, to have a vision, to have a purpose. But if we don't know how to master our emotion, at the first roadblock we're going to encounter, we're going to be stopped in our track and we won't be able to move forward. And so really mastering emotion becomes an essential skill that people need to develop in order to continue to move forward, to grow, succeed, and adapt in that fast changing world. And so right here, right now, that's where you are in the middle. And so you have a future and you have a past. Now, in order for you to move towards your future, you need to have something that pulls you, something that is compelling. That compelling is about your vision, having clarity of your vision, having clarity of your mission, your purpose, but also having clear goals so you can measure your progress. So these are the things that are pulling you towards into the future to move forward. And then you have the things of the past that are dragging you back or holding you back from moving forward. You might have a whole bunch of limiting beliefs that you're aware of, but you don't know how to deal with. You might have some emotional baggage. Everyone has emotional baggage. We all have emotional baggage. I do have emotional baggage too. But being aware of it allows you to find ways to resolve it. You might have some fear, you might have some anxiety. Perhaps you might have some shame or guilt, or maybe a lot of stress and worry. So all are these the things that are related to things of the past that you might not have dealt with. And so in order to move forward in life, we need to attend to both sides. We need to create and design the future, the vision, the mission, the purpose, and the goal. We need to get clarity on those. But we also need to address what is holding us back from moving forward and preventing us from growing. We need to address our emotional baggage. We need to deal with fear. We need to deal with shame, guilt, worry. And we need to address some of the limiting beliefs that we have that may be holding us back from growing and becoming a new person. And so these are really the two aspects that we need to address anytime we want to make some form of progress, whether it's personal progress, whether it's professional progress, or even whether it's progress in your own business. These are the things that have a direct impact on your environment and your reality. And so here's another quick reality check. 3 statements scare yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. So the first is, I easily adapt to change and deal with uncertainty. As I said, uncertainty has become one of the major highlight of this, the 21st centuries, and especially increase since COVID-19. So if you can easily adapt to change, you're not resisting change, you're not avoiding change, but you can deal with that and embrace uncertainty, you're going to score yourself closer to 10. If there is a change and you're just moving away, denying or trying to avoid it, you're going to score yourself towards 1 because you don't have that emotional resilience. The second statement is, I know how to effectively clear my emotions. As I said, suppressing emotion is not a strategy for resolving emotion. It's just purely suppressing emotion, waiting until the bottle is full and it explodes. So there's a different strategies on how to clear emotion. So once they're clear, they're gone, they're dissolved, and that allows you to move forward. So if you know how to effectively clear your emotion, if you have learned some tools and some strategies to do that, you're going to score yourself closer to 10. However, if you have no clue on how to deal with your emotion, and you know that you're an emotional wreck and you're just an emotional baggage walking around, and you don't know what to do and how to deal with it, you're going to score yourself closer to 1. And the third statement is, I can quickly regain my internal balance and calm when I'm challenged or under pressure. These days, that's all about challenge, pressure, and uncertainty. And so, if you've been witnessing in your life that you can regain your internal balance quite quickly, regardless of what's happening in your external environment, you're going to score yourself closer to 10. But if there's a little change happening in your environment and that really wrecks your day, and you have a hard time to get back on track, you're going to mostly score yourself closer to 1. Again, all these example, all this exercise is just to help you do a reality check of where you are right now in a relationship to the 3 key elements that I'm mentioning about that are necessary for us to really build an unfair advantage, both in our career, in our business, or in our personal lives. Just a quick example here also from some clients. And so here's the example of Balin that had difficulty to find his own flow, and there was a lot of emotional blocks, and that had an impact in the way he was appreciating himself and the people around him. And so really helping Balin to first identify where were the emotional block and resolve them with one of the tools and what a technique that Marcia has developed called neuro-emotional integration, which is a very, very simple but very powerful way to resolve emotion, was really key for Balin to be able to move forward. As I say, very often we're not able to move forward because we have emotional blocks, limiting beliefs. And this is what prevents us from seeing clearly what we need to do next. And so we work with Balin both on the side of developing more emotional mastery and clearing some of the emotional baggage. Then after, we can work on realigning certain things, work on values, and optimizing his day-to-day in order to feel more in flow. So the second key really of the success blueprint is that your ability to master your emotion determines your ability, that adaptability, your career opportunities, and also the quality of your life and the quality of your finances. So as I said, emotion is something that most people overlook, but is one of the things that have one of the deepest impact in our life, both personally and professionally. So imagine if you could clear any fear, any self-doubt that you might have, or any guilt from the past that is currently holding you back from more success, impact, and fulfillment, both in your career and life. What would you be able to accomplish, having freed yourself from some of the shackles of the past that are not necessarily relevant anymore, but are still trapping you subconsciously? Imagine if you were being able to let go of that heavy emotional baggage that you're carrying through. What could be possible for you? What would you be able to accomplish? So now we get to the third element of the success blueprint, which is authentic strategies. Now, once we put all the pieces together, the core identity, the emotional intelligence and resilience, and the authentic strategies, that's how we awaken our personal leadership. When we have clarity about who we are, our identity, both on the big picture and the small behavior, and we develop emotional intelligence and resilience, we are able to birth clarity. When we have emotional intelligence and we are really clear on our authentic strategy, what works naturally for us, that's where we develop the confidence. And when we have a deep understanding of who we are and how we function, but we're also really clear on what are the optimal strategy for us that fits like a glove, the things that are the most authentic, that's when we develop certainty. So when we put all the 3 things together, core identity, emotional intelligence and resilience, and authentic strategy, we're able to develop clarity, certainty, and confidence. And that's how we birth and unlock our personal leadership. The success blueprint is the science of personal leadership. Now, let's go on to authentic strategies. Generally, most strategies that you will learn from other people won't necessarily work for you. The reason is because you're learning a strategy from someone that is different from who you are. Therefore, you cannot exactly apply that strategy to your own particular case in your own life because you are a different individual, you're a different person, your environment is different. And so you cannot just copy paste. It's not going to be the same. It's not going to work. And very often that can lead to frustration because we're trying to be someone we're not, and it's hard. We do a lot of hard work and it's not working. And so instead of trying to copy other people and trying to be like them, it's a lot wiser to look at, okay, what makes you unique and how can you develop your own authentic strategies rather than relying on other people. It's a lot more important to look at yourself and build your own unique strategies. We are all unique. We have unique values, as I mentioned. We also have a unique genius. We have a unique talents. We have unique skills. And we also have, more importantly, a unique natural flow on how we do certain things. And that is really important because when we look at strategies and try to imitate others or try to borrow other people's strategies, our unique flow might not really match with those strategies. And therefore, it's not going to work. We're not going to get the same result. We're going to get frustrated and we're going to feel that we're not good enough. This is going to undermine our confidence. But the problem is that it's not the strategy is not correct. It's not the strategy does not work. The strategy works for the person that developed that strategy, but that strategy might not work for us. And so if we try to use someone else's strategy and it's not working, most likely what's going to happen is we're going to beat ourselves up. We're going to undermine our self-worth, our confidence, and then we're going to go further down into the emotional baggage. And so that's why it's really important to first identify and work on getting clarity about what is your own unique natural flow, your unique authentic strategies, instead of relying on external opinion or strategies from other people. And so this quote is really a beautiful quote that summarizes what I just said. And the quote says from Ralph Waldo Emerson, envy is ignorance. Oops, spell mistake. Envy is ignorance and imitation is suicide. Envy is ignorance because when we envy someone else, we are actually ignoring our own greatness. So when we try to be someone else, we are actually denying who we are and what unique makes us, what is unique about us. And so that is what the envy is ignorance. We're ignoring our own unique greatness. And imitation is suicide because, as I said before, if we try to imitate someone else, because we are different, it's not going to work. And so slowly, we're going to not get the result we want. We're going to undermine our self-worth. We're going to increase our self-doubt. And gradually, it's a form of self-suicide. We're minimizing ourselves more and more and more because we're trying to imitate someone that we're not. And it's not possible. And so this quote is beautiful in terms of capturing that. Envy is ignorance and imitation is suicide. Don't try to be someone you're not because you're killing yourself and you're ignoring your own greatness. So really, in order to make a positively unfair advantage in your own career, in your life, it's really about developing your own personal leadership. This is really the key to more success, to more impact, to more income, but also to more fulfillment in life. Self-awareness, mastering your own emotions, and identifying your authentic strategy. This is the foundation of personal leadership. So the success blueprint shows you the 3 keys that you need to work on in order to own your future and create the career and life that you want. And this model has been built working for the past 15 years with clients from around the world, different countries, different origins, different industry at different stages of their life. And this is a universal model. No matter where they are in life, when they come to us, we always have to go and look for those keys. The identity, getting more clarity on the identity, teaching them how to master their emotion and identifying their authentic strategies. And when we are able to put all the pieces together, then we can help them awaken their personal leadership because now they have the clarity, they have the certainty, and they have the confidence to do what they need to do to move forward. So the bottom line is that it's really, really important to know ourselves. not necessarily pay too much attention to what's happening on the outside world, but getting really clear on what's happening inside of us, because that's what gives us the clarity and confidence on what we have to offer. Getting more clear and specific about what are our unique skills, our unique talents, and how we can use them to add value, whether it's to a company or to the world in general. It's also really important to look inside to be able to become more adaptable and resilient for change. As I said, change is inevitable, it's not going to disappear. That's the only constant of life is change. However, the adaptability is something that is optional. Having a clear vision, direction, and purpose is really key, because we're going to face challenges day in, day out. And the only thing that is going to keep us on track and keep going is we have a really clear and compelling vision and a purpose. Otherwise, we're just going to get knocked off the path at the first roadblock, and we're going to aim aimlessly and wander around and drift. And finally, find our natural flow is really important for achieving peak performance and sustainability. Trying to be someone you're not might work for a certain amount of time, but ultimately is not sustainable over a long period of time. And your performance is going to gradually reduce and diminish. And so that's why identifying your natural flow is really key to be able to have something, a strategy that is sustainable for you in the long term. So another quick reality check here. I'd like you to score yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 with those statements. So the first statement is, I have a clear plan to achieve what I want in life. If you're really clear on your vision, if you're really clear on your purpose, and you have the clarity about what are the things you need to do, the steps, the goals, then you're going to score yourself closer to 10. However, if you're just following the flow and hoping things are going to work out for you, you have no clear direction, you don't have a plan, and you're just hoping that tomorrow you're going to get a haha moment, then you're going to mostly score yourself towards 1. Second, I know how to tap into my flow and be productive. If you know your flow and you know how to get into the zone, then you're going to score yourself closer to 10. If you have no clue how you function and you find it hard and it also feels like a struggle and you're going upstream, then you're going to score yourself closer to 1. And the third one is really important, is I have the support I need to help me identify my blind spot and overcome them. Very often we come into roadblocks because we don't see them. We haven't seen them. We're lacking some perspective. We have some blind spots. We all do. But it's important in this case to have a support system. Could be person, could be coaches, could be friends, to help you identify those blind spots so you can become aware of them and then put a strategy in place to overcome them. So if you have the support system that you need and you're able to overcome those blind spots, then you're going to score yourself closer to 10. If you have no idea and the first time something happens and you just frazzle and you just get overwhelmed and you're not functioning, that means you don't have a support system to help you identify your blind spot, and you're going to score yourself closer to 1. So I shared with you the success blueprint, which is the core framework in order to develop personal leadership. But there is a practical application to the success blueprint, and the practical application is called Clear Path Forward. It's a 5-step process where we address all the different things. So the 5 steps involve clarifying your identity, which is all about understanding how you function, claiming your inner wealth, which is all about understanding your unique genius, your talent, your unique skills, what you have to contribute. Clearing the roadblock, which is quite evident, is all about clearing the emotional baggage and the limiting belief that may be holding you back. Create your future vision is all about identifying your big vision, your true authentic vision, but also getting really clear on your purpose and your mission. And then commit to yourself is all about helping you put a strategy in place to move towards that vision and purpose, but a strategy that is authentic to who you are. And so another way to depict the clear path forward is a more linear way, which is the 5 accelerators of personal leadership. And this is what is really about the practical application of the success blueprint and the different things you need to be able to uncover in order to increase your opportunity to grow in life, to get more success, to get more impact, to get more income, and to get more fulfillment. These are the different blocks, the different items you need to work on in order to develop that self-awareness, to develop that ability to master your emotion and function according to your authentic strategies. So without self-expression, life lacks spontaneity and joy. And without service to others, it lacks meaning and purpose. That's why the more we understand ourselves, the more we're going to be able to express our uniqueness. The more we are able to make our unique contribution to the world through a service, it could be through a business, through a job, and the more we're going to derive meaning and purpose out of that. That's why self-awareness is so important. When people find themselves at a crossroad, it could be at a professional crossroad or a crossroads in their life, that's where it becomes an opportunity to really take the time to discover yourself and to really understand what are your priorities and how can you strategize from there in order to make sure that you're going to achieve what you want to achieve, both at the personal level, but also at the professional level. And then building your toolkit in order to become more resilient, to become more adaptable to future challenges. So this program is also about teaching people how we equip them with the tools they're going to be able to use for the rest of their lives in order to develop that ability and adaptability. So the third key really is your ability to identify your authentic strategies and find your unique flow, determine your level of success and fulfillment in life. That's really, this is more about the execution, how we do things. So imagine if you knew your natural flow and you had a strategy that fits you like a glove to be most productive and performant, what would be possible for you? If you know exactly what to do, how to do it in a way that feels really authentic and congruent, what would be possible? So when I shared at the beginning my story, my journey started in medical research, and that was the beginning of my journey. And it was a very significant part of my journey because there's a lot of skills and knowledge I gathered through my academic career. But that was not the whole story for me. There was something else. And there was an opportunity for me to go and explore beyond the constraint of what I've been learning at school and university. And so ultimately, life is about teamwork and collaboration. And at some time, when you reach a crossroad, it's really about taking a leap forward. And it's about looking for who could be the people that can help you get more clear about your next step in life. Who could be the people that can bring you the tools that you need in order to move forward and take that leap forward, whatever that leap might be for you. So in truth, is more information is not enough. You can read more books, you can attend more seminar, but this is not really going to replace personal work. This is going to not to replace a tailored approach and doing some specific work with yourself. And you basically would need some guidance, assistance, and support because information is not the same thing as transformation. We can all fill our head with more information. However, there's no guarantee that that information is going to lead to transformation and implementation. And it's really when you work with someone one-on-one that you can really go deep, get a different perspective, and get a new understanding of yourself to be able to transform your results and implement new strategies in life to change your result and create your future. Because we all have a yearning to express our unique genius. We all want to maximize our potential and opportunities. No one wakes up in the morning and say, I just want to be less than I was yesterday. No, we all want to grow. We want to be more. We want to have more impact. We want to have more success. We have more meaning. We want to make a meaningful contribution to society. This is what life is all about. It's all about expansion. It's all about growth. And so the success blueprint is a simple model, but is a universal model that really identifies and highlights the three keys to own your future, regardless of where you are currently in your life or in your career. And the clear paths forward are the five accelerators of personal leadership. This is the how to implement the success blueprint and what are the different things you need to get clarity on in order to move forward. And so I thank you first for having stuck with me all throughout this presentation. And I'd like to reward you because one of the most important things we have in life is time, and time is precious. And I think we really realize that with coronavirus and the pandemic. Life is very precious. Time is what we have, and it's the most precious resources we have. And so because you join me on the call, and you take the time to watch the presentation, I'd like to give you a reward for your time, because I don't want you to move from here and not being able to do anything. I'd like to help you in order to implement some of the key ideas that I mentioned. And so I'm going to offer you a strategy call with me in order to help you get really clear about your specific situation. And in the call, we are going to identify your highest priority, what is specific to your personal situation. I'm going to help you clarify exactly what you can do right now based on your unique situation. What I share are general principles, but the key is really to apply those principles specifically to your own situation and getting a different perspective. And I'm going to help you map out a strategy for you to move forward. And so what I'd like you is I'd like to invite you to book a strategy call with me. And so this is the link. If you'd like to book the strategy call with me, as I said, it's complimentary for people that attend this webinar. It is a way for me to help you start to implement what I talked about, because I appreciate I shared a lot of information and sometimes it can be overwhelming. But this is what I've been doing for the past 10, 15 years, is helping people implement some of those key ideas and elements. And so I'm offering you a strategy call with me where we can dive deeper into your own unique situation. So ultimately, being acutely aware of your skills, attributes, and value will be much more help to you than any other single thing you do in your career preparation and for any other changes you will make throughout life. This really summarizes the whole presentation, because it's all about understanding yourself, developing more self-awareness. That's from this place that you are able to put a strategy in place to move forward. That's from this place that you are able to identify the right opportunities for you, not any kind of opportunities, or not what other people say this is the thing you need to pursue. It really needs to start from you. It starts from the individual first and then builds around that. So really here's the big question for you: what's next? Well, I like the analogy of the movie The Matrix. You can have the blue pill or the red pill. You can decide to listen to, okay, what I told you is great and it's interesting, but then nothing's going to change, and then you're just going to continue and stay where you are. That's one possibility, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a personal choice. I'm not here to push you or to force you. I'm just here to make you aware of the choice that you can have. And then there's certain people from you that will choose to, okay, maybe I need a little bit more clarity. Maybe I need some help and some guidance. I need some help with some questions in order to get out of where I am, to get unstuck, maybe to get clear on the next path forward. And you might choose to take the red pill. And that is also your choice. That is also, if you're ready for the red pill, then just book a call with me and we're going to go down the rabbit hole. Because, ultimately, it's your life, it's your choice. I'm just here to offer you possibilities. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm here to help you discover from yourself what you need to do. And I'm here to guide you on the journey. And so choose the red pill or the blue pill, either one. It's okay. It's your choice. Respect it.